Oh man, so Bitcoin continues to struggle below $19,000. Yesterday, we got the worst close since December 2020. It's a difficult time for Bitcoin. We're getting a little bit of support at a level which I'm going to share with you, but also things will not get better until this culprit, which I've identified, does not recover. We're going to take a look at this culprit, what's causing the problem, how we're going to fix it, and what the landscape looks like, and what I'm doing in this market. Thank you for joining this live stream, guys. Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, check out the links in the description. If you want to buy any crypto, BYBIT and BITGET will support you. Links in description to some amazing bonuses. Guys, I will be taking Q&A, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I will try to cover as many as possible at the end of this live stream, but at the same time, let's get straight into the charts, because what I can share with you is this, and this is your culprit. It is none other than the dollar index. And I want to spend some time understanding the dynamics of this dollar index. I touched upon it briefly this morning, but I want to spend some more time understanding what is going on here. This is the weekly chart. And as you can see, this dollar index is going from strength to strength, and this will continue to mean bad times for risk-on assets, which includes Bitcoin, okay? So what I want to show you here is, let's go into the daily chart. And you'll remember when we were at this point, and we saw dollar index rotating across, and we said, okay, maybe we can come back down to our EMA ribbon. During this stretch down, that is when Bitcoin got its run up to $25,000. Remember, the dollar index is inversely correlated to Bitcoin. So that is what we saw. We then saw that we were hoping we'd get the close below the daily EMA ribbon, so dollar index could have a more sustained fall on a longer time frame. I'm going to come into why we wanted that, but we didn't get that. Dollar index continued from strength to strength and has now gone above this little local high here and continued to keep grinding its way higher, which is bad for risk on stocks, bad for the NASDAQ, bad for growth stocks, and bad for Bitcoin, which is why we're seeing more pain to the downside. Now, what causes the dollar index to start falling? The dollar index falls when people are feeling fearful in the market. And when you look at the landscape of the market, if you look at a wall of worry, there are so many bricks laddering on right now, whether it's Putin and the Ukraine-Russia war, whether it's the European monetary policy, they're making their rate decision tomorrow, Christine Lagarde speaks tomorrow, whether it's Jerome Powell and his battle against inflation in the US and his continued efforts. We got CPI coming next week. You've then got FOMC meeting on the 21st. Then you can look at the energy crisis here in the UK and Europe. Absolute disaster. There's a global slowdown. People are feeling it, and things aren't starting to get better at all, okay? And that is why we're seeing continued weakness here from a macro perspective. Now, when I zoom out on the weekly, look at this strength here from the dollar index. And what I want to show you something really specific here before I jump into the chat and see what you guys are saying. I want to show you something very, very specific here. And that is, we were hoping for this big push down. Now, every time the dollar index has had a nice big move to the upside and it tops out and has a blow off top back down to the downside, this has always historically meant good for Bitcoin. If we want to see that, let's bring out the Bitcoin chart and superimpose that on top. And you can see here exactly when dollar index tops out, that started the next big move to Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin top happened when Dixie started to then rotate out. Let's look at it this time. Big fall to the downside. That then signaled our massive move up to 64,000. Okay, so that's what we're seeing here. Is each of our bull runs are happening when dollar index is falling, but right now we're getting the opposite. Dollar index is moving in that direction, which means Bitcoin only has one direction to head into. So as a lead measure, I need to see this call off, and a meaningful call off is not just coming into our EMA ribbon. Yes, if we come to our EMA ribbon, Bitcoin will do this, but that's not the same as Bitcoin going all the way over here. No. In order for Bitcoin to go on its massive run to the upside for a long time and for us to be really risk on, this needs to lose its weekly EMA ribbon. And at the moment, it's not showing any evidence of doing that. Yes, it may have a couple of weeks off and Bitcoin can have a couple of good weeks, but that's meaningless in the longer term picture of things. Okay, so that's what we need to watch out for here, is this dollar index and its correlation with the Bitcoin price. Now, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. It's been going down since 9 months ago. Smash up the like button. Yes, guys, good reminder. Please do smash up the like button. Really does support a channel like this. There's a bunch of you on this live stream. Please do all hit the like button. No excuses not to hit that free like button. You can even undo it. So if this stream doesn't meet your expectations, you can undo your like button. Fear and greed index is sitting at 24, but more interestingly, what I want to focus on is this. Look at this, guys. I showed you this morning. It climbed to 70%. Now it's at 83%. I did mention this had plenty of room to go up, right? And don't be surprised to see it hover around this level and even squeeze up towards 90% the closer we get to the anticipated date of September the 21st. The only thing that would change this is a really, really good CPI reading. If inflation comes in low, the market can go, hang on a second, inflation came in so low for the second month in a row that Jerome Powell might not do 75 basis points, he might do 50. Then we'll see this unwind, this percentage go up at the bottom, and that could lead to a rally in Bitcoin in the short term. But we need to see that CPI reading on the 13th of September. We will be covering that live on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed so you do not miss a bit of content. So we need to continue to monitor this. But there's a few people talking today, which is going to try to shake the market. Okay, we've just had Barkin speak. He's reportedly said, I've not had the full transcript yet, but reportedly he came out saying he wants rates to remain high. So he's come out hawkish. Mester, 10 a.m., Brainard, 12:35. Then you get your beige book at 2 p.m. That's where they give a bunch of their economic projections in there and the landscape of where they think the economy is going. So we'll pay attention to those. More importantly, tomorrow, we do get Jerome Powell speaking, and we get our ECB rate decision from Christine Lagarde. Okay, so we will be looking at the European markets, because the European markets do have an impact on the dollar index. I don't want everybody to think that the dollar index is just the dollar. It's a basket of currencies, and the European market has a big weighting in that. So it's not that, oh, look, the US market is fine, therefore US dollar should be fine, therefore Bitcoin should be fine. That's not how it works. This takes into account the European market. So just because the US economy may be holding up well, the global slowdown is the bigger fear right now. That is why money's flocking into the dollar, and therefore that causes a bigger weakness on risk on assets and Bitcoin. That is what we're seeing. Another point to note is you are seeing that the hype trends right now are falling a lot harder. We are seeing Ethereum taking a big hit today, down 1%, even though Bitcoin is relatively flat today, up 0.36%, but you are seeing Ethereum fall to the downside. So we will keep an eye on that. And similarly with ADA. So any of these projects with these narratives of these hard forks here in September, because they had a lot of trading volume, a lot of speculation going into it, when you get the liquidations, it's going to have a bigger effect on those projects. So be very, very careful if you're trading any of those. Now, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart. And what I do want to show you is we are getting some support here from our channel, right? This is no coincidence. You guys have been monitoring this channel for a long time. You guys know that I've had this channel drawn out since we entered the channel back in June, and we've been monitoring this channel. And when we broke below it, you saw we tested it on the backside, and then we came back down, and I set my price target at the bottom of the channel to say I will be dollar cost averaging in around the 18,700 mark, and that's exactly where we've fallen to now. Now you're seeing a little bit of support, but I would not get hung up on this little bit of support right here, right? I'm not going to bet the farm on this and say, oh, we're suddenly going to rally. All this means is you can indeed get a little bit of a relief rally, right? You may get a little bit of a relief, but what have we learned? What have we learned? We have to learn that we can't chase those reliefs. You have to pay respect to whoever's got control of the trend. If I bring out the EMA ribbon on the 4-hourly, I think it's very, very clear who's got control of this trend. It's the bears. And even if the bears want to have a little bit of a call off and let the bulls push it up towards its EMA ribbon, they're still in control of the trend. So do not be surprised to see it hang up here for a little bit before then being sent down on the next trend. Okay, in order to create a meaningful bounce here, we need to see sustained volumes creating a good bounce from this level, even a little bit of sideways action, and then work on creating higher highs and higher lows to trend our way out of this direction. My personal bias is that I think we're going to lose this level. I don't think it's looking particularly strong right now. I don't think the macroeconomic conditions are conducive. Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow, bunch of Fed officials today. What positive news can they say? Is anybody really going to come out and say, yeah, I think it's time we pause rate hikes? I just don't think they're going to say that. Now, if they do say that, that could be positive, but I don't think they will. You can see the volume profile. We're well below the point of control, sitting at 20,000 now, which means it's easier for the bears to push us down. You can see my longer term, more painful target brings you down to that 17,500 level, which is from that previous low. Okay, this was the low we created back in June after the 3 Arrows capital collapse as well. So I will be looking out for that price target as a possibility of dollar cost averaging in. Yes, you can also set lower price points. You've got support sitting at 16,240, and then you've got 13,900 as well. But we'll call those as and when we get to it. There's no point me shouting out silly prices out to you have no technical relevance just yet. And I think a lot of YouTubers out there are doing that. They're just giving you these crazy price targets just to be a bit sensationalist, just to get the views and the clicks. But the reality is, let's focus on where we're at. We've got this support level at 18,700. If it doesn't hold, I'm looking at 17,600. If we fall below that, we will have to reevaluate, right? Then we've fallen below this low, and then we're going to have lower lows. And lower lows is not great, because then when you zoom out on the weekly chart and we take out a cleaner chart, you will then have these lower lows, right? Because then what you've got, if you've got your higher lows, that's your high, lower high, and then the low, lower low, lower low, and then you would have posted another lower low, whether it's at 17,000, whether it's at 16.5, that would not be great. Okay, so we will monitor that. Now you can also see from this chart pattern that I shared with you guys here on the daily chart, which was this channel we were monitoring, you can take the previous move and you can put that here, and you can see that brings you down to the 10,000 level. So whilst that doesn't mean I necessarily think we're going to go straight to 10,000, I do think it's a level that from a technical perspective can be argued, but let's just work through this systematically before we start calling out these silly numbers, okay? So that's where I'm at right now. Liquidations are super through the roof, right? We had a crazy day yesterday, $250 million liquidated longs right here. Let me just show you that, guys. It's just above my head there. $250 million there, liquidating longs. Eager longs, expecting a move to the upside, but the macro economy was not lining up and it wasn't giving us any impression that we had a reason to move to the upside. Right, guys, let's take a look at your questions. Do you guys have any questions? Pop them into the chat, and I'll work my way through there. As I'm doing that, guys, don't forget to smash up the like button. Really, really do appreciate it. There's 40 of you in here and 23 likes. Come on, guys, let's build up those likes in here. Double top on the weekly on Dixie. If we do get a double top, then it's great, right? Because then that's what we want to look at. So if you're looking at the dollar index, what is our path out of this? Which is the great question we should be asking. And the path out of this on the weekly chart is we do create that top, but we're not doing that, right? We're super high. We were looking for that to kind of level out here, because then we could have had this nice triple top pattern. And this is the level at 102, which we keep getting rejected at. We've just posted more highs. We just continue to soar here. And that's just testament to the fears in the market. Now, if you look at it and zoom out long enough, you can see the peaks here created in July of 2002 are scary. That's at 120. The question is, are we going to soar up to some of those levels if the fears continue? If the war is long and drawn out, if inflation's not brought under control, what will that mean for the dollar index? And that's a scary sign. If we start working our way towards there, then you can make arguments for Bitcoin falling to those lower price points, which we were alluding to. JH, what do you think about swapping from ETH to BTC? Maybe only some of my holding to lock in some of the recent relative strength of ETH compared to BTC, almost all-time high over the last couple of years. I mean, this is a constant debate, right? I personally try not to get into that game because I think it becomes really, really tricky to manage a portfolio when you're constantly trying to swap pieces out. I have conviction for Bitcoin on a standalone thesis that if I invest in Bitcoin and I dollar cost average in Bitcoin over the long run, I will get a certain return. I then have a standalone thesis for Ethereum that if I invest in Ethereum over a different time frame with slightly higher risk and slightly higher reward, I can make this return. And based on that, I have separate plans of how I'm going to build my position out. Now, sometimes it becomes really tempting, like you say, where you see Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin. You're like, Ethereum's completely outperforming Bitcoin. Let me rotate into Ethereum. But then the problem is, just as you do that, Bitcoin will go on its run. And then that's why you're constantly in limbo trying to time the market instead of spending time in the market. So I know it sounds cliche, but that's what I do. I keep it nice and separate. I keep my thesis for projects separate, and I try to allocate the capital needed for each of those separately from trying to bring more cash into the market. And that's the way I kind of play it, instead of trying to juggle around and trying to find which one's the best performer at any given time. That you just ultimately end up missing moves. And I remember reading a study, I think it's for the S&P, but if you miss the main like 2 or 3 key days in the market, you lose like a good proportion of your returns on that asset class. So I'm butchering the quote, but go find it. You can easily Google it and find the stat. But you need to spend time in the market. You can't miss those couple of days because you're trying to time it with different asset classes. Do I believe Bitcoin pumps from here? I think we can get a little bit of a bounce. I think like I just explained, I think we can get a little bit of bounce from that level. We're at the bottom of our channel, 18,700, but I don't think it's going to last. I just can't see how we're going to hold this level. I've just got this feeling in my bones that we could fall. That being said, we held from it nice and strongly here, right? We did a couple of times hold from it strongly. So let's see. But I personally think the VPVR, the EMA, the macroeconomic conditions aren't suggesting too much great news. I mean, if I do rotate across to the US markets right now, you can see US markets are trying to stay green, but it's struggling, right? And if some of these Fed officials come out today, there's 4 or 5 of them speaking, and say some negative things, that can easily lead the day in the red, and Bitcoin will continue to tumble later in the day as well then. Will 100 basis points be added to the table for the rate hike? Well, currently they're not pricing in 100 basis points, right? If they were pricing it in, it would be added here. But currently you've got 83% of the market pricing in 75 basis points. If we got more red in the markets, that would mean some of them are pricing in 100 basis points. I personally don't think it's on the table. I personally can't expect 100 basis points. But again, if the CPI reading comes out really aggressive and really high and tops new highs, in fact, let's take a look at the CPI reading. Let's go here. And this is your CPI reading chart. Let's put it to a line chart. If this goes and really roars up there, then we can argue that 100 basis points. But as long as this kind of stays about where it is, or even starts declining a little bit more, markets can take that as a positive. Jerome Powell, I think, will still go ahead and do his 75 basis points, and then we'll crack on till the next month to see. My personal viewpoint is, can we get this rotation at the end of the year? I'm personally thinking, can we by Q4 maybe get to a position with improving CPI trend that Jerome Powell starts to U-turn and start to pivot? Because I personally don't think he's got much room to go beyond, 4%. So if he does a 75 basis points, if he does another one, you're then at 4% Fed funds rate. And I think after that, he's really going to damage the economy and cause some problems. So I think in an ideal world, if CPI behaves itself, I think we could be out of this by the end of the year, but I wouldn't hang my hat on it, right? So that's pretty much where my thoughts are at, just giving you guys that insight as and when it pops into my head. Like you're saying, most support is at 13,800. I think with Bitcoin, you got to remember, we got the delta prices at around 14,500 as well. So there is precedent for it to fall to those levels as a final capitulation. And also, I think if we do fall to even those levels, and particularly if it's lower than 17,600, so anything lower than 16,600, I think it'll be quick. I think it'll be really quick. And if you aren't quick and you don't have your cash on exchanges, I think you'll miss out on those falls. So definitely, if you're waiting for some of these price points, one, don't wait. Have a game plan without having to get there, right? So start nibbling. That's personally what I'm doing. I keep reminding myself that there is no guarantee we're going to get to 17,600. And that's what helps me nibble. So on days like this, even though, the market is very negative and they think, oh, we're definitely going to go down to 10,000, I still tell myself to nibble, because I've been through this many times where you get to these levels where everybody thinks it's just going down, and then you get your slight move back to the upside again, okay? So I'm nibbling, but at the same time, I will nibble even stronger if we fall to these levels at about here, 17,600. And then obviously if we fall any lower, then it's a case of trying to grab as much as I can, sell whatever I have, and try to accumulate some more. Average Joe, much love. Appreciate you, buddy. Good to see you. Thank you for joining the live stream. Guys, long ETH, etc., just because of the merge, and sell it when merge is there. Yeah, be very, very careful, guys. If you're trading Ethereum or Cardano, please understand that there's a lot of buy the rumor, sell the news. I've mentioned it plenty of times, but please be very, very careful of that. You will see that a lot of people will take this euphoric pumps and try to profit from it in the lead up, and then the event itself becomes really anticlimactic, and you're left holding a bag. So if you're not experienced, please be very, very careful. Just a silly question. Do you think with all the things happening in the world, macro or else, does US as means to manipulate dollar index? I have doubts. Thanks, man. You're honest and with logic. No, I don't think they're trying to manipulate the dollar index. I think they can, if they wanted to, they can manipulate CPI reading, which is more important, because from a political point of view, they want to show that things aren't getting too expensive and that they're on top of it. But I don't think they would do that for the dollar index. And also the way the dollar index is calculated, it's a basket of other currencies. So even if they could manipulate their own currency, they couldn't manipulate the basket of them, is how the theory goes. Debinus, we are the rare few. None of my colleagues, family, friends are talking, not interested in crypto. I think this is a really interesting point. Very good point you make there, Debinus, and thank you for your support in this community. But yeah, like, this is sometimes because we spend every day in crypto, we think everybody knows what we know and they're in the market like we're in the market. We're not. Just go for a walk. Go outside. Right? Go for a drive. Go outside and just start asking people. Maybe we should do that on this channel. Maybe if you want me to do that, let me know in the comments. I will go outside with a microphone, like those types of videos, and I will ask everybody what they think of crypto, because the reality is we're early. And even if people have heard of crypto, they heard of crypto to the extent of meme coins, not building out sensible portfolios, not navigating a bear market, dollar cost averaging in, researching the fundamentals of a project, doing the tokenomics, and that's everything we're doing on this channel. So if you're learning all this stuff now during this bear market, you're going to be far ahead of the tourists when they come in. And then the whole idea is that you're then trimming your profits, having seen what a bear market is like. You're not going to get greedy. You're not going to get too excited. You trim your profits, you take your profits, and you get ready for the next bear run. Get used to those cycles, right? Debonus, we have bearish divergence on the Dixie on the daily since last November. Yeah, it's going up. Yeah. So you got to remember, Dixie's heavily manipulated by macroeconomic fears. So this is where people get really confused. They start using loads of technical analysis on large time frames, which things like bearish and bullish divergence on large time frames are very rarely accurate, because over long periods of time frame, so for example, people tell me on a weekly chart, use bullish and bearish divergence. Yeah, but over the long run, Bitcoin is more succumbed to far bigger macroeconomic trends and things like COVID and printing of money and CPI and inflation, all these things, than it is the fact that you're showing some bearish divergence. So these kind of patterns that you're looking at, and particularly using divergences, far more important on smaller timeframes where traders are active, because traders are using those indicators in order to make their moves. Hey everyone, hi Ijaz. Gareth Soloway predicted 10k BTC and 600 ETH. Any thoughts? I mean, look, a lot of these people, and Gareth is great, but a lot of people can just shout out these numbers because it gives them extra views, right? Like it's good to have a really big thesis, because in the noise of the internet, how good is it to say, oh, that's the guy who doesn't believe in Bitcoin. Oh, look, that's the guy that's always bearish. Oh, look, that's the guy who's a Bitcoin maximalist. Everybody wants to be in a bucket. When the reality is, if you want to be successful in investing, you've got to let the data lead you. And that's all I do. Yes, I will have tendencies where in my head, maybe I have a gut feeling that it's going to go to 10, but you won't see me portraying my gut feeling onto you, because that could just lead to emotion reactions, right? I just let the data lead us, and I'll show you what the data says. And that price target, which I shared with you, I'll just show it to you again. This was the first time when I did a channel, we were in this continuation channel here, and I took the extended move, and I applied the extended move to the downside, and it showed me a price target of 10,000. Up until then, even though my emotions may say, oh, maybe we can get to 10,000, I don't just blurt it out, right? I let the data lead us. And when we see structures that are suggesting it, then fine, right? 14,000, really important support level. We know from when we were looking at the on-chain, if you guys have watched my on-chain metrics videos, that there's a delta price where in previous bear runs, you come and you wick down and you touch your delta price really quickly. Our delta price is sitting somewhere between 14,000 and 50,000 currently. That's something we want to look at as well. Can we get a flush out, a capitulation into that range before heading up? So, these people that say, oh, we're going to see this kind of price, is so convenient that it's such a nice round number, $10,000, that they want to shout out. I mean, I don't think it's particularly helpful, to be completely honest. Triple Money NFT, nice live stream. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for your support. Walan, how old are you? 29, old man. Noid, is that not a potential double bottom forming on the weekly? Are you looking at Bitcoin? Are you talking about Bitcoin? You didn't specify. Yes. So in terms of Bitcoin, what you do want to watch out for, the only way we're going to get out of this is that kind of reversal pattern. So remember, I've made videos on reversal patterns. Reversal patterns can be things like a double bottom. That's one way of getting out, right? Wick down to kind of the levels we're at and build our way up slowly to the upside here on the weekly chart. The other way is a triple bottom. So you can have things like this. And then your other variation is a head and shoulders, where you do this, go even lower, you come back up, try fight back, can't, go back down, go back up, and then finally you're out of the woods, right? So those are your different kind of reversal patterns. Now you can also just start channeling your way sideways, right? And then eventually try to work our way back up. So those are the things that the bulls have to do. But in order to do that, they have to stop the bleeding. But right now, I can't see where the bulls are in this market. I don't know if you guys can see them, but I cannot see. They bring out the EMA ribbon. Where are these bulls? Like, they've not been here for a while. In fact, let's just come onto the normal chart we use. Let's just pop that there. Like, where are these bulls? Every time we were moving, we ran into our EMA ribbon this time. This time, it didn't exist. If the bulls were present, we would have done something like this and then fallen down. But the bulls weren't present. All that was there was just the bear saying, I'm having a break. I'm going to stop pedaling for a bit. They're just chilling. And then when they decided to, they've thrown us back down to the downside again. So we've got to understand that right now the bids aren't in there. The bulls aren't in. Nobody's excited. Everybody thinks the price is going to go low. But again, that's also the beauty of crypto. When everybody thinks something's going to happen, that's when you got to be prepared. And that is why, fundamentally, I'm in the market. 85% of my cash is in the market. In fact, probably a little bit more than that because I've been doing some DCAing. I'm probably close to 87% in the market. I've got a little bit on the side ready to buy at these levels like I'm doing now. If we fall to 17,006, I'll nibble me some more. That's how I want to play the game. I'm not going to panic sell and try buy back in if I think we're going to go to 10,000. I'm not going to, sit out the market and say, no, we're definitely going to go to 17,000 and then I'm going to buy there. This is not a bus. It's not going to pick you up where you ask for it to pick you up. Like, this is not an Uber, right? Like, it'll move where it wants to move. And the reality is no YouTuber, no technical analysis, no fundamental analysis can tell you exactly where it's going. Use these structures to help us make sensible buys. And that's all we're doing here on this channel. We're saying, look at this. We saw this pattern. We saw it break to the downside. So why should we buy here? We'll wait till we come back into our channel and buy here. And if you guys were on CoinPanel, you would have seen that. And by the way, please, guys, go check out CoinPanel. Use my link in the description. Get yourself set up because I set all my limit orders in there for you guys to use. You can see my chart patterns. You can see my narrative. I put it all on there, all tagged for you. So you can see it really, really simply and easy. Definitely check out CoinPanel as well. Devin says, awesome idea to go outside and hear from people. Call me Bert, though. I'm not sure what. Call you Bert? Why I skipped Naweed? I'm not sure what you mean. I did do that. Is it not a double bottom? We've covered that. Do I trade options? No, I don't trade options. Alex says, thanks, Ijaz. You're welcome. Devin says, that YouTube video about Ijaz explaining those patterns is amazing. Yeah, guys, it didn't get a lot of views, but if you type in my name and type in reversal patterns or bottom patterns or something like that, it'll come up. You'll see it. And I explain all the different technical reversal patterns of how you create a bottom and get out. And that's what will help you start to spot some of these in real time. Cool, guys. I think we'll wrap that up there. Thank you for joining the live stream. Don't forget to smash up the like button and subscribe on your way out. If you've not watched my Matic video, I'm going to link that up here for you guys, and you can go watch it on the channel. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the